I am here today with my friend Neil Twa, and we have kind of an exciting, I think it's we have kind of an
Hmm.
exciting announcement to make. Um, Neil is recently has put together a pretty cool book, and you
Yeah.
might just find a chapter from yours truly in that book. So we're going to talk about that today and why you absolutely must read it. It
Hmm.
really compares to some of the best training that I have ever received. In me reading, I got to read the manuscript. That was exciting. So we're going to talk about what this book is all about and how you guys can get a copy and what else we got going on in life. So
Yeah.
how are you, Neil?
I'm good. Thank you. 2024. Woohoo. A
Yes.
new year, new opportunities, new fun, new challenges. What is life and business without challenges? But yeah, super excited to be here and chat with you about what's going on and include everybody in the little project we've been working on in the background.
For sure. And, a lot of people know who you are. But for those of you who don't know who Neil is, why don't you take a moment and tell everybody what you do?
Cool. So I may look like I'm 35, but in Amazon years, I'm about 99. I've been around this ecosystem long enough. I should have a long beard, look like Father Christmas. Been selling on Amazon for a long time, selling in the e-commerce world for a long time, mobile marketing and media development, consulting and management consulting since I left my corp job in 2007. So I've been around the internet, the e-commerce thing. I jumped out of college because the internet was going woohoo, and I had to be a part of that. And so there was nobody to teach me how to do that. So I jumped out and went straight into business. And I've got the school of hard knocks, if you will, ever since then. But I've learned a lot in business. I've learned a lot from the people who've been around me. But more specifically to this relationship, I've been involved for going on almost 12 years now in the Amazon space of business building and private label branding. And that has been just a blessing, a lot of fun, a crazy ride, sometimes really high, sometimes low, just because it's a marketplace of changes. And they're changing stuff again. And we'll talk about some of that, I'm sure, today. But it's still, for me, as Voltage is an incubator of brands and products and businesses that want to launch and grow or scale on the Amazon platform. I'm super excited about some of the changes they've actually made and some of the things that are happening that are more positive, I believe, than negative. And some of the things that we've talked about that are in the book and even your chapter are things that are going to greatly impact business owners in the coming year, I believe, in a positive way. If we take a positive outlook and do the right things to get ahead of it and stay on top of it, because there's some big things coming.
Yeah, I agree. There's so much change happening, not just on Amazon, but across the e-commerce world, across the industry,
Yeah.
across the internet as a
Yep.
whole.
Yep.
There's a lot going on. I've been recently listening to the some information about the changing world order, and there's a lot going on around the
There's
world.
a lot going on.
Yeah, and
It's a lot to navigate.
exactly. And sometimes when there's a ton of change, people get very frustrated. They aren't
Mm.
really sure what they should be focused on. I'm seeing this on client calls. As a consultant, I've got people coming in and going, Amy, I don't even know what to do. Should I focus on PPC? Should I get off of Amazon? My fees are crazy, my storage costs. I don't know what to do anymore. Where should I focus? And even PPC, the way that campaigns are ranking has
Yes,
completely changed.
it's
And
it's evolving.
exact match isn't exact match anymore. People are just losing their minds, and myself included in some capacity. And it's like, I used to be able to really know my way around Seller Central. I mean, yeah,
Yeah.
I've been selling on Amazon since 2007. I'm also old in Amazon years, right? But I used to really know my way around and, be able to just, oh yeah, I know exactly where that's at. And now I'm like, your guess is as good as mine because the last time I logged in, it looked like this, and today it looks like this.
Yeah. Yeah, there are
Um,
changes, no doubt about it. But make no mistake, the fundamentals have stayed the same. And I think one of the challenges in my experience, just to sort of answer that question, we can dig into it a little more depending upon where you want to take the convo. But in my experience, some of the fundamental components of the business, it's out the algorithm and the way things have worked and still work as the business model operates, beneath all of the changes that are occurring. Some folks just don't understand all that well enough to adapt to what's changing. And so they're kind of blowing in the wind on everything.
Yeah.
And that makes it really hard to decide what to do. Should I really get involved in AI? You know, you and I talked about this a couple months ago on the AI Summit, how important it is to consider how you're using that. But I also see some people being very confused by that because it's like, well, where do I use it? And there's so many new things. And every week there's 7 new businesses popping up and, you know, it's evolving so fast. How do I get involved? And more importantly, it's like when you should get involved. I always tell people, you know, should you get involved? When do I get involved? What do I do this? I was like, well, more importantly, when do you get involved? When is it actually important to get involved?
Mm-hmm.
And these are some of the things I think that help create stability. So you're not reacting to the changes as much as being proactive. Like PPC was going to change. We talked about it months ago. PPC was going to change. It's changing because they're changing the AI system. They are moving towards a AI-based latent semantic search engine. Even deeper in artificial intelligence, large language models, BERT AI, developed by Google, is going to be coming online as a part of that. And they're even starting to release updates that are asking people if they want to change their listings. And then you go look at the listing and it's like, this listing sucks. What is this? Why would I change it to this? This is horrible. So they're testing it to see how it will evolve in the market.
Yeah.
No,
And
mistake.
speaking of that stability, you know,
Yeah.
that those underlying fundamental concepts, you
Yes.
have developed a system that works very, very well over
Yep.
and over again to scale, to build and scale e-commerce businesses.
Mm-hmm.
And your new book, it is called Almost Automated Income with FBA. And the tagline says, build a profitable lifestyle-driven Amazon business, exit for millions, even without any e-commerce experience. So tell us a little bit about this book and how it's based on this really awesome proven system that you've developed.
Yeah. So I know everybody says they have a system, some special hook, some special thing, some, you know, growth hack that they've done. And this is a lot of marketing language at the end of the day, to get you to buy into some concept. But the thing I want you to really understand at the basis of every business is a fundamental understanding and a knowledge, an IQ of business operations, profit and loss, the numbers of the business, the profit and loss of your products, and of course, the opportunity that the products present for your business, their actual job, and of course, what your actual job should be. So when we talk about what it takes to build that, you have to understand that for me, it's been easier to teach people with zero knowledge in the last year of Amazon than it is to try to teach people who were already selling on Amazon how to back up, okay, and take one really large step back so they can take 2 really large steps forwards. And they have a really hard time understanding that concept. Well, he said this, or this training did that, or they were over here. What's this growth hacker? Why didn't you do that? And it's like, you know what? Whoa, like time out for just a second. You don't have the fundamentals. When I ask you your numbers, you don't know your net profit. When I ask you your conversion rates, you can't tell me. When I ask you what the business numbers, what's your profit and loss statement for last quarter, you can't answer those questions. If you can't answer those fundamental questions, you're not going to see the business success overall. You're not going to know your numbers. Very important. Too many people are still running their business on gut feel. To get to a system of more automated income, like I talked about, not passive, because passive is not truly passive. That's why we call it almost automated income, is to build systems and processes that are numerical, scientific, and run by the numbers, not emotions, not gut feel, not what if. If there's too much what if, too much questions, too much ambiguity in your statements, it is probably because you don't know the numbers, you don't understand the business. So let's get down to very fundamentally what that looks like. Did you have a bike when you were younger?
I did.
Did you? Okay. Did you have training wheels on your bike?
Of course. And a banana seat.
Well, who didn't have the banana seat? We're going to age ourselves out if we're not careful. I had the banana seat too. I even had the banana skateboard. Remember the banana skateboards? Yeah. I wrecked it so bad one time on one of those skateboards. I had like gravel like all up in my hand because I went just across.
And the little streamers, and then the card in the wheels, so in the spokes.
Streamers, no. Cards, yes, because I didn't want to get my butt kicked after school, so no streamers on my bike. But the bike you had when you went to ride it, I'm pretty confident your parents didn't just take you out, throw you on a bike with no training wheels, and say go for it.
Nope. Right? Well, I mean, they did a couple of runs after I had some time on my training wheels.
Absolutely. Training wheels first.
I couldn't wait to get those training wheels off.
Right? So many people forget now, due to desperation, time in market, potential problems, history, the inflation, other things in the market, they just want to jump right on the bike and run. And they're very frustrated when they can't do it. They don't understand the basic and the fundamentals. They don't have the training wheels on yet. So in the business, you need to put your training wheels on first. Okay. And sometimes when you're riding the bike and you can't understand why you're not riding it very well, or you can't ride it very long, or you're not very good at it, you might need to put the training wheels back on. And that doesn't not sound right to a lot of people's ears. And the training wheels are the fundamentals of the business that run the fundamental profitability of the business and its ranking, to understand that this engine, okay, with its very large data set and billions of data points and long history of learning, because it was a latent semantic knowledge management learning system long before you ever got started on it. And it has been training on billions of data points for more than a decade. And it is now becoming, to some degree, it's on the path of being an AGI. It's becoming somewhat more sentient to the way that it learns and adapts and triggers things. And at some point, it may come fully awake like every other AI is on its path to doing. I don't know. That's when we get Terminator style and we all cut all our power off and go run for the woods, right? But the long story short is it's looking for certain things. It's wanting you to see certain things in the metrics of your business. It now knows more cost of goods and profitability for your business and your product type than probably even you do. And you go into the engine thinking, I'm going to launch this product, tell it what it wants, force it what it wants, go off into all these locations and try to get the engine by social media marketing or other things to force the engine to believe I'm the better product. But certain fundamentals of your business will say to the algorithm, you are never the right product. You haven't been the right product. Therefore, we're not going to reward you as the right product, no matter how hard you do these things. Okay. One of them is ensuring that your product has a good conversion rate. I know it sounds weird, but if your conversion rate is lower than the top 10% in your node on Amazon, you will never outrank them, no matter how hard you try. And that has to be a consistent growth in that conversion rate. Okay. Or you won't overtake their market share. The algorithm won't let you. Okay. If you has less inventory, if your inventory is 1,000 units and your top competitors have 5, 10, 50,000, the algo is not going to let you outrank them and take over their market share, especially not to page one for your top positions until you put more inventory in. But of course, you don't want to launch with 10,000 units. That's the wrong way to do this. But you want to test the algo and determine, am I in its slipstream? Am I floating the Amazon river correctly? Am I getting in line with the expectations of customer to cart to order demand in 30 seconds or less? All things to all people in 30 seconds or less. That was their mantra. That's the engine. Okay. If you are not dialed into that slipstream data-wise, analytic-wise, you will never be able to organically achieve rankability in the engine, which is full-priced products, full-price sales, full net profit. And you will then rely on PPC only as the mechanism to not only keep you there, but keep rankability. And then you'll start forcing mechanisms like, well, I can only maintain 30% ACOS. And I will say, you don't understand what's going on. Well, I can't increase profitability or increase my price point. And I will say, you don't actually understand how the engine works. And they will say, well, I don't have enough to buy inventory. And then I will say, you don't actually understand how the engine works. If you are not willing to truly understand how the engine works and then move into it, you are building scarcity and limiting beliefs into it, not because it doesn't exist, but because you're forcing it upon the system. When you test the product and validate those data points, okay, in the first 7, 10 days of a product launch without PPC, but with just organic rankability only, and you do not see the proper reciprocation of those metrics, it doesn't matter what you do later on, you will never force the engine to love you. And this is where I think people don't really understand the power of this economic engine that's running under the hood. You have to know your numbers because Amazon knows its numbers. And when Amazon knows its numbers and you come in with the wrong numbers for the node or the place where you're selling in the marketplace, you will simply not overtake the market share. Get those right, and then Amazon will reward you. You'll start fighting with the system and start getting in line with the system. And once you do, you have a new problem. Okay, that is, you're selling more product than you can possibly most likely capitalize, which is a lot of people's problem when they do this right. It is a systematic numerical process that happens no matter what you put in the box and what niche you're in. And I know that makes not a whole lot of sense, but when you realize your job is to market, your job is to sell the product better than anybody else and prove that you can sell the product. And it's Amazon's job to deliver the product and to make sure the product quality and reviews match with expectations for the customer base. Product is actually your second problem to solve, not your first. So people completely get this in reverse. Sell the product first, understand your marketing. Amazon is now moving, and I know you know this, Amy, to become a profitable marketing and paid traffic and media distribution company by 2026 and will overtake its entire infrastructure profitability with paid media and ads. It's now buying more than YouTube. If you are not understanding how to be a smart, powerful marketer, how you could actually get your product's rankability in organic with PPC supporting it so that 80% of your sales are organic and 20% are PPC, and even shut off the PPC if you want to, because I've proven that and have case studies, okay, turning off 30, 40,000 a month in PPC spend, but still watching our organic growth because we're in line with the engine. That is just a process. It's the same repeatable process no matter which product it is. So I would argue today, don't focus on the product. What the heck you're going to sell is going to come out of the numbers. And the faster you test, the better the numbers come. Why is that important? Because later it actually sets up a system of automated income, almost automated income. Then the engine is working for you instead of against you, which takes you less time, energy, effort, attention, and money to make it run.
It's like you've explained that a couple times before, Neil.
Maybe once, maybe twice. I do sound I do sound like I keep saying the same thing over and over again, but at the end of the day, there are just not enough people in this marketplace who understand that, and unfortunately, they suffer from it in 5, 6, 7 months when they fall out of business, when the one product doesn't take off, or they can't determine how that product is working in the engine, or they simply launched it the wrong way and never had a fair shot at it from the beginning. Yeah. There's a lot of that going on. It's pretty rampant. And it's more important to do that even more so within, the changing fees, the fee structure. Certain categories are going to be cheaper. Certain are going to be a little more expensive. Fees for storage are changing for how much inventory you have, how much inventory you don't have in the system. You're going to have to be very smart about the logistics and management of inventory in the coming year, or you're going to pay a lot more money for things you wouldn't normally pay for. And by the way, $3 and $5 in profit on a product can't happen anymore in 2024.
Too expensive.
Too expensive. Sorry, that game was over. It was over 2 years ago. They just caught up with it.
Yeah.
You need a minimum profitability of $10 to $15 per unit. Minimum. Minimum.
I agree.
And it's been that way for a few years, but just it's now time. The system is forcing the change. I've been talking about it for 2 years, but it's now time.
You mean I shouldn't compete with Chinese factories?
No, no Chinese factory, no more. It actually sounded
like why would you want to anyway? Like we like to make money, not list products wholesale prices.
Yeah.
So
that is right.
You just explained your amazing system that you've clearly been using to get a lot of people a lot of success. And in this book, where you talk about almost automated income with FBA, you've included a bunch of different people in the book, a bunch of different experts, myself included. Thank you for including me. I feel very honored. But why? Why did you include other experts if you clearly know this like the back of your hand? You don't need Amy Weiss. You don't need my input. You've got this down. So why this book? Why all these experts weighing in on their, side of these things? And how is that going to help people?
Yeah. Well, at the end of the day, here's something that I've learned in its most simplistic terms in business. It is who you know that gets you there, and it's what you know that keeps you there. And if you cannot figure out what it is, then stay up late, figure it out, find a way, get to an answer. Okay. It's when you bring people along for the ride and you share, more people win. When you're not pretending to be the smartest person in the group and you let others share their expertise and share their knowledge, everybody wins. The group in the book that is here with the people are in it are people that I consider to be winners, people that share knowledge, people that are truly doing the business and understand the way that it works. And therefore they are somebody to listen to. And I love now to not be, because I was that point, I was like, everybody turned to me and looked for the answers. And I'm like, I don't want to be the only guy who's getting fingers pointed at me. But I've been blessed and honored now to be among people in my community and in Voltage and in my network of people like you who are smart and are good at what they do. And from that, you will learn, and I have learned way more and shared more and gained more knowledge from that kind of community gathering. And the power of that surpasses, I believe, anybody's individual knowledge and experience. And so the community and the masterminding of that has always been a great factor in my success, and being able to do things like put this book together and bring you and the other experts in to weigh on the different points and topics that are covered in the book is important for people to understand. There's a unified knowledge of success. There's a unified understanding of the framework that has to work. That's what's kind of the standard that's made each of these individuals successful. That's why they were included in that book, because it's a framework and part of my playbook that runs the successful aspects of Voltage in my clients' businesses. And each of you extol one of those benefits and one of those expertises. So it's my honor to be included with you in the book that we're putting together, because the group of people that I get to be around are super smart. And I like just step back sometimes and thank God to be blessed to be around all of them, quite honestly.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, if I was just running my little pet brand and doing my own thing all these years, I would never have learned so much from so many people who either trusted me to help them with their business, or
Yeah.
who I interviewed on a podcast, or, but I got the honor of reading the manuscript for this book. And, Neil, I wasn't sure before we started this live stream, I
Yeah.
wasn't sure. I was talking about how I wasn't sure if I was going to like the book, because I've
Sure.
seen other people do books like this where they have
Of
a
course.
bunch of different
Yeah.
authors, and, it's like a marketing thing, And so at first I was like, I don't know how I feel about this. Like, I'm just going to read this and see how it is. But
Yeah.
it flows so well. And it's so really interesting to read. Every different expert is giving an aspect that is complementary to the whole. And one of my favorite people for events to go to for training is Tony Robbins. I've been in his mastery universities. So, of course, on his core events like Date with Destiny or Unleash the Power Within, it's a lot of Tony. And you do see a few other experts, but it's mostly, those are his core events. It's mostly his stuff, right? But when you go to his other events like Business Mastery, or I just went to Fiji for Life Mastery and Wealth
Mm-hmm.
Mastery,
Mm-hmm.
it's all the different experts. And
Yeah.
sometimes those experts contradict each other.
Right.
And Tony
Right.
always says, like, no, you do your own research. And, but that's what reading this book reminded me of, is learning from all these different experts who might have slightly different opinions or ways of doing things, but it's going to help people in so many ways, because they'll be able to relate in so many different ways. Where if you're just listening to one author's voice, you might hit, okay, in this chapter, like he said this thing that really struck with me, or, in this other part, okay, and you maybe have one takeaway. But in this book, I had so many takeaways, because I was like, oh, that's how that person does that. And that's how that person does that.
Right.
And actually, I could use both of them. So I
And
found
there's a
that,
reason why it works. Yep.
yeah, it was really
Yep.
well done and really, really powerful. And so I would highly recommend that you guys get yourselves a copy, because it's really, really awesome. It's not one of those books where there's just a list of authors and it's just random information. It's really well put together, and it's going to give you guys great insights into how to build this business. So talk about the launch. When are
Yeah.
we putting this thing out on the shelf?
Yep. So it comes out in just a couple days. Officially, January 5th, we're launching it off an event that we're doing in combination with our structured strategic partners called the Wealth Without Wall Street Group. And then we're going to roll it out into the first quarter of this year, and just kind of, it's not a hard launch, but it's definitely, a launch to get it out into the expert community and into the folks that are involved, like Norm and Nick and others who were involved. And I had the honor of getting permission and having Kevin Harrington, who's my mentor, write the foreword for the book. So I'm super excited about that. The guy sold more than $5 billion in products and invented the infomercial and was one of the first sharks, and has been a friend of mine since 2016. And I was honored to have him write the foreword to explain why the process, and even brought him in a few years ago into the way Voltage does business, which has helped us dial in some of our thinking and expanding our knowledge about business and practices through Voltage, which has been greatly beneficial to me. And he wrote a really wonderful foreword about business and the e-commerce world and the way that this all works. And then just the experts who were together to really push this out. So you're going to get multiple viewpoints on a theme, I guess is the best way to say it. And the theme really is the Voltage 5x5 playbook to really and truly understand how to build and launch a profitable brand, and to do it in even 2024 and beyond. We sustained one of the biggest, craziest times so far in the history of the world. And when you did this too, and a few others, when the prices went from 3,800 on a 40-foot to 25,000 on a 40-foot container, we stayed in business. And there's a reason we stayed in business, and we stayed profitable, and we continued to grow. And now, thankfully, it's down below that. Now it's taking longer to ship the products, but they are still cheaper. But the opportunity to understand that period and how we went through it is of great advantage to anybody who wonders, can e-commerce sustain, and can physical product businesses sustain major changes in the market, inflationary or otherwise? And quite honestly, e-commerce is just a mechanism, Amy, of something that is historically the longest profession outside of the other one, which is selling physical products, not human products like that old profession. But selling physical products has been around since the dawn of time. That's a different kind of product. And the end result is e-commerce is just a way to sell products, take tangible, intangible, make it tangible through inventory, take currencies that may be less devalued and put them into physical inventory that has a 5 to 10x valuation. And again, these are just some of the fundamentals of the business you're going to learn. It's kind of a training module is one of the ways we sort of looked at it. The book itself is really kind of a course with different people chiming in on the same theme about building the product and understanding it, about building the pipeline and understanding the marketing, about not going by gut feel, but going by the numbers to ensure you're going to be profitable, really understanding how the engine itself works to take advantage and flow with it properly, because it is a river flowing 24/7, 7,800 products a minute. And you want to get in that river. And then really the biggest opportunity in the book is to understand our platinum principle. These businesses are worth more at the end at any time during the business building phase. Your exit is a huge opportunity. I have at least 2 people right now who are set up for generational wealth exits after the last 4 to 4.5 years of working with us. And generational wealth exits are big, right? These are life-changing exits. And that's what I want to see for anybody who truly gets involved in this kind of business. Don't think short-sighted. Don't think next month, think next year, think the opportunity, think bigger picture, think 3 to 5 years in any business. And that's kind of the common theme of the book. Build it from the beginning, build it to the exit. And everybody who's been coming along is great. So we're launching out on the 5th. We're going out into the market. I hope you would grab a copy and take a look at it, and obviously offer any feedback. If you don't like it, send it to me. If you love it, put it on Amazon. We would appreciate that, because that's where we're launching. We're going to have the digital copy and we're going to have the physical copy.
It's like this guy's written a review funnel before. I don't know.
Been around the block a long time. I know, do not jack with reviews.
Well, you guys, we will be sure to include a great discount for you to get a copy of the book. Huge, huge discount. I'll put it down in the description here. So be sure to take advantage of that, and let me know too. I want to hear, what you guys think and your takeaways. There's so many gold nuggets in this book, and Neil, I am so excited to be part of this with you. Let's talk, before we wrap it up today, let's talk about your predictions for 2024 in the e-commerce industry. What do you think people can expect?
Well, Forrester, Department of Commerce, predicts about 6.7 trillion sales for 2024. That's $1 trillion more than last year. Think about that for just a second. We're supposed to be around 1.5 trillion in the United States. That's $500 million up from last year. So if you wonder if e-commerce is still working and all of this stuff that's going on in the world, it's actually increasing for a lot of reasons that may be obvious or not obvious. So my prediction is that the US market will hit or exceed that in the e-commerce world. Amazon has grown its market share to around 39% last check. That is almost twice as much as the other 2 competitors, Walmart and Target, behind it. So expect Amazon to continue to be that juggernaut. It's really just an amazing machine. The fact that it works at all is a miracle. Quite honestly. So I expect them to continue to take over and change and adapt market share. From a con perspective, well, let's stay with the pros for just a second. There's a con, so I'm going to get to both. It's very important we keep the balance here. From a pro perspective, you should be moving any brands moving into 6 figures onto multiple sales channels. Okay. TikTok Shop is relatively new. I've had some experience with it. There's still a lot of things to be worked out and a lot of kinks. And then there's a lot of people who don't like it because they understand where its origins came from. I'm not arguing with that either. I live in the country on 45 acres. I'm about as pro-patriot as you can get. And there's some concerns about that. However, Shopify still remains the largest secondary market of independent sellers And if you're not moving your 6-figure business on Amazon that is now moving into almost automated income into a secondary channel, that is and must be an opportunity for 2024. You must be acquiring secondary market share and not singular market share anymore. That was 2 years ago, but I'm just echoing again. This is more important this year due to changes in the market, demographics, ability to acquire, and of course, storage fees and other fee changes that are going to require people to adapt to multi-channel. Okay, just be very smart about that. It's a need this year, not a want anymore. Okay, so the cons are that the fees and storage fees are changing. That is going to be a little bit harder for those who've been kind of sliding the line for the last 18 months. You're going to need to elevate your brands. If you do not, the con is you probably won't make it through the last of the year. I know that sounds like really gloom and doom, and I'm not trying to be that guy, but the con is you will not sustain the storage fee changes and marketing changes that are coming this year if you do not. Prices click through, CPC prices have gone up with the other storage fees and changes in the marketplace, including inflation and time in market and time on transit. You're going to be faced with some major decisions. Elevate your brand or shut it down. It's a tough one, but that's going to be a con for a lot of people this coming year. The other con this year is going to be some major changes with AI that Amazon is rolling out. Like it or not, it's coming. And if you're not aware of it, you're going to get victimized by it. And then we'll hear you on YouTube screaming about how you hate Amazon, but technically you were victimized by a system you should have been aware of. So take that for what it's worth. But there's a major change coming. We don't know when it's going to be released just yet. All the scuttlebutt is it is still coming, and that is incorporation of AI into the search engine. With this system of change coming, it is going to dramatically change the way your current rankings happen in the system. You do not want to be a victim of that. How could you be a victim of that? Your poor listings and grandfathered history are going to come to an end. Okay, just because you were there earlier and were ranking, this new algorithmic system is going to preference better written, better optimized listings over the old listings that were there just because they were grandfathered in previously. Mm-hmm. With that change, you're going to see them switching up your listings, like it or not, using their version of the AI because they're finally ready to start launching that large language model training into the AI, which is coming this year. They call it BERT AI. It was originally developed by Google in 2018. They're now rolling out certain components of it right now. We're seeing it show up in the listings and some of the ranking changes and some of the word salad that's showing up in some of the suggested changes they're making. Like, it's not there yet. At some points, it's as bad as Midjourney with hands. But it's getting closer to becoming better and better adapted. And I think that's going to be a major change that people are not totally aware of right now. And I'm going to see a lot of people screaming about the bad changes that are coming when that rolls out. The one way you can stay is go back, use other AI types of tools. We preference and have a strategic partnership with ZonGuru, who has a really great and powerful AI listing and writing and copy tool with high scores, making it easier to find the right keyword and customer search term stack.
It is my favorite listing tool.
One of my favorite listing tools. John Tilley, good guy, did a really great job, and he's a strategic partner with us. All of our clients use that tool to optimize. I know Amazon's rolling out some of its own beta features this year. Just be aware, it's not very polished yet. It's looking pretty unpolished at the moment. That may change, but they got a lot of work to do on their end. Just know that if you don't make some of those changes and not understand what the latent semantic search engine is going to be doing with some what's called semantic matching, then you're not really going to understand why your listing is deranking, because you were there before.
And it's like the additional attributes that they just added, right? There was like
correct.
200 more attributes, and they're like, if you don't add these, you just, it's not going to work, right? So
if you're dashboard driven on your listing creation and modification, you will also feel victim to that. If you are not managing it through flat file, taking down the new attributes and keeping up with your flat files, then managing your products based on flat files, you are simply, again, going to become a victim. If your mastermind group or coach is not telling you about that, ask them about it. If they don't know about it, go look at my newsletter. It's free. I'm talking about it on my newsletter. Go learn something if you want. And of course, pick up a copy of the book, because I do cover some of that in the book as well.
Well, speaking of that, my last and most important question is, how do people, other than the link to get the book, which I'm going to put there, but how do people get in contact with you? How do they follow you?
Social media, or Google my last name, TWA. I can't hide. It's a very short last name, or click in Voltage. You'll find me one way or another. You can go to voltagedm.com, Voltage Digital Marketing, voltagedm.com, or just Google my name and pick out one of the social channels. If you want my more personal opinions and what I think about life and stuff, go watch Facebook. I'm still there until they kick me off. One of these days they're going to ban me. I don't know. We'll see. Twitter, I post a little on. Instagram and all the other medias I post mostly are podcast and other media. Sometimes my thoughts on business. But yeah, you can find me anywhere in one of those locations and just hit me up. Check out the podcast. Book link will be on the main site shortly. And of course, in the description and show notes, everything will be there. And definitely go check out what Amy said in her chapter, because it is a good one. And I appreciate the input for sure.
All right. Well, you guys heard it here first. So much information today. It was really great. I need to go back and listen to this again, just so I can really, hear your core steps in your system, because they're brilliant and really, really fundamental. And I focus a lot on fundamentals as well. And so I love hearing new ways to think about that. And I heard some new ways today. So that was really, really awesome. Thank you again, Neil, for being here. Thanks everybody for tuning in. Get your copy of the book, follow Neil, get his newsletter, do all the things, and we'll see you guys next time. Bye.